Today, if I look back at my journey, that is where I feel that I did the right thing of choosing a sales or a business role in the beginning of my career.
क्या बढ़िया था गुरु।
Should figure out according to your personality what is it that you enjoy doing the most. Typically I would advise people to look up for different roles within the same company.
बात तो सही है।
You should not shy away from bringing your opinion on the table. You should definitely, every voice matters in the room. So never shy away because of the fact that you may not be right. Right, so don't so be fearless is what I would say. Be bold, be fearless, don't be afraid of making mistakes, because in the first 5 to 6 years of your career you should be allowed to make mistakes, and that is where you will learn. So
ओह यार यार ये कितनी औसम है यार।
Hi everyone. Today we have Sangeeta Patil with us, and it's very delightful to have her here. It's such an amazing experience, and she is one of the most helpful people out there. When I reached out to her, she connected me to so many other women out there, and she was the most helpful person I've reached out to through, got through the podcast. So I am just very very grateful to her first for doing this, for helping me with so many other things. And the second thing is I'm very very inspired by her profile. She's the senior director of product management at Beam, which is a AI first fintech platform. And she has been very inspirational. Her journey, her career trajectory been through various has gone through various stages. She's also an angel investor. She has also been head of product. I think Sangeeta, there's just so much to cover, so we'll go to you. Let's start with you. Let's start with the background, with your early days. How did you decide what you want to do very early days, maybe from college onwards?
sure, sure. Thanks, Alicia, for your kind words and introducing me. I did my bachelor's in electronics engineering from NIT Rourkela, which was typical course of path that anybody would take in those days.
अब्बा नहीं मानेंगे।
This was in 2005 when I graduated from school, and then I got into NIT. I was always excited to participate in different types of activities on campus and organize stuff as well. So the primary focus, therefore, for me was to get into a managerial role or a business role right from even after like third or fourth year of engineering, is what I kind of saw myself in that position, and that's what led me to kind of also go for the MBA examinations. And after that, of course, I worked as a developer. Even though I was an electronics graduate, I had keen interest in computer science, and I considered myself a good coder back in my college days as well. So I kind of navigated towards being a developer in a MNC in Pune. And at the same time I was kind of also trying to get into MBA, and that's where I landed up in IIM Bangalore in 2010.
Oh my god!
Started off my studies in general management with no specific specialization, but kind of finance was something that was close to me. I was, and that is because of my keen interest in maths and computer science. So I was kind of interested in numbers, and that's kind of, therefore, it was a natural choice for me. Started off my career in banking with, India's largest private sector bank then, ICICI Bank, and I got into a business role over there. And that was, I think, the shaping moment of my career.
Not bad, not bad.
Starting off in a sales role, and I think today, if I look back at my journey, that is where I feel that I did the right thing of choosing a sales or a business role in the beginning of my career. And after that, it has been a journey of discovery. So I kind of, I realized that as a person, I enjoy solving problems. I enjoy solving multiple types of problems, and that is what I think I discovered in myself, after 4 years of that journey. And then I thought, strategy is something which I kind of, therefore, it click nearest to what I wanted, having also spoken to a lot of friends who were in consulting and etc. So that was my kind of thought process, that I would love to explore different kinds of problem statement and solutioning in a strategy role. So I kind of joined an fintech startup then called Incred, which is now a unicorn, which became a unicorn recently in 2023. Started off in a, again, my interest area was to build things from scratch, and that is where I kind of try to understand myself slowly and steadily by taking up different roles, different, and that is what I would suggest everyone, that you should figure out according to your personality what is it that you enjoy doing the most. Building partnerships from scratch for for Incred, and that is where I kind of understood that building products is something that excites me. I worked with product head, I worked with sales head. I was kind of working on coming up with a separate business unit for the company in that particular segment, which was education lending for students going to study abroad as well as in the Indian market. That is when the eureka moment happened. And then I moved into Beam, where I've been working here since last 2 years, and it's been a fantastic and a steep learning curve. I joined as the senior director of product, and this is for the US market. It's a B2C SaaS fintech product, and I was joining at a senior role, so I was leading the product charter, and I was expected to build the team from scratch. And even as I resumed the role, I realized that the product management vertical in US works quite differently from what it is in India. Customer success reports into product, then even design reports into product, and to align the structures or the company metrics well, even the marketing org reports into product. So I kind of managed all these charters slowly, steadily, tried to streamline, and I've been solving problems one by one in different domains. So that's that is what has led me to be very confident about being a P&L leader, that is a profit and loss leader, managing the entire revenue, top line and the bottom line, end to end. That's pretty much a summary of my journey, though it was a long summary. But yeah, I would like to pause.
मस्त प्लान है.
Yeah, Sangeeta, that was amazing, and I think very inspirational. And also, you had little tips for people in between. So you have gone through so much, and you have, from doing strategy to doing product, and product also you learn different verticals, and now this is just amazing. I think you have had a very experience of different roles, different profiles, and I think, but finally you made your way into product. So what actually attracted you to product, I wanted to understand in the first place, because you have done your MBA in finance, and then you tried strategy for some time. You have also seen a little bit of different profiles. So what is it about product that really makes you feel motivated to stay in this?
Sure. So I think the core of it is problem solving, I would say. So I'm a problem solver at heart, be it in whether at work or otherwise. I love to kind of work on solving problems, and if that leads to impact, or if that leads to building really consumer-centric products at scale, or rather solving for meaningful problems at scale, I would rather put it across that way, is what gives me joy and happiness, and that is where I realized I'm passionate about, because you get to execute things, fast, you get to understand customer insights, you get to you really need to understand the customer pulse, you need to understand competition, you need to understand the market, you need to understand the business dynamics, you need to understand the unit economics, you need to understand or rather position your product well enough so that it sells. So it is like a mixture of multiple things. Product management is kind of at the intersection of all these 3-4 things, and it leads to immediate impact, and you can see that in product. And also at the same time, it's not that also the problem statements will keep on changing for you. So that is what made me stick around. Today I might be working on launching a 0 to 1 product. Tomorrow I might be working on scaling up a product, an existing product feature, or maybe a product, right? Tomorrow, day after, maybe I'm working on some marketing positioning of a product, and it could be any type of product. Similarly, product is also like it's around product life cycle, or a customer life cycle is around 4 different types of things: acquisition, activation, retention, and engagement. Right? There are 4 levers of customer life cycle management around which products are product structures are built, product strategies are built. So it kind of I would say naturally coincided with my personality, and I think that is what I would suggest people to look for: resonance with your personality and what you love to do, what you enjoy the most. And also I must say one more thing, that in one kind of problem statement scenarios, I used to feel, as a person, I used to get bored very fast. So that is what product management offers, a novelty in every problem, a newness in every problem. You have different problem statements to solve almost every, if not every day, but at least every 4-5 days in your product roles. So that is, and there are a plethora of problem statements that you can solve in your entire career. You can even change industries. Each product role is agnostic to industries, and sometimes even maybe some problem statement has been solved in a particular industry. Say for example, an entertainment industry, you might have some learnings from there and might apply in, say, fintech industry, for example, right? So that kind of, it's like a horizontal role, and therefore there I feel really excited about whatever I do, and at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is customer is the king, and whether you are in a product or a marketing role, I think customer centricity and being very close to customer is what helps you or gives you the maximum insight. So that is something that I have always enjoyed, and yeah, that's the reason why I love to be in this role.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And I think you mentioned being close to customer, understanding that pulse, and all this is very important. So I think traits like what do you think are the essential traits? Does it require you to be emotionally intelligent? Does it require a lot of data analysis to understand the customer role, or does it require a lot of empathy? How do you open your perspective to listen to the what the customer is trying to say? What are your lessons for somebody who's early into product management that they can adapt on? And also the
Sure.
second part of the question is what is like one of the most interesting products that you have worked on, without maybe naming the company if you don't want to, like what is one interesting project that you worked on which could be like inspiring to the audience, if they want to get into product management?
Yeah, sure. I would love to touch upon that. Yeah, coming to the first point, that is, what are the traits? I think curiosity is most important trait of a product person, and even I think in marketing a product, curiosity is very very important, specifically in a product role. Being curious is the most important trait of a product manager. That is where you will ask questions. You will keep asking questions until you reach to the core of the problem, or until you are then that is, and in fact that trait is very similar to even a consulting role, structuring the problem, thinking in a structured way to reach to the root cause of the problem, right? So one is that, of course, being curious, having attention to detail, because attention to detail helps you get into the details, nuts and bolts of the problem, of the experience, which is very very important. Nowadays most of the products are digital, right? So that is extremely important. So that is also where you kind of the experience that you design is has to be relevant for the customer. You have to meet the customer where they are, because most of the times you are building the products, but you have to build products what they will understand, not what is conducive for you or for yourself, right? Many a times your adventure might become a customer's adventure, so you don't want that, right? So you want them to understand your product, and that should be relevant for them. So you need to therefore kind of be empathetic to what their needs are, rather than what you think your what is known to you. Rather, you have to go understand what is known to them, and then build then that is where you can build customer centric products, real customer centric products, to say. And at the end of the day, that is where empathy and therefore listening is also an equally important trait of a product manager. It is not just about being always a controlling person in the room, or because often product manager needs to coordinate with all the stakeholders and everyone, but at the same time, you need to listen. You need to first listen and then react. Listen, think, process, and then react and act, right? And more often than not, you need to be more of a proactive person rather than a reactive person. So I think these are some of the traits that you should necessarily have to be a really successful product person, I would say. Not just only being a product manager, but a product person necessarily has to have these traits, I think. And of course, you need to be able to articulate, structure your thoughts, but that is something, it's a skill that can be picked up, I would say. It is not necessarily a trait, you can pick up skill. So yeah, that's the answer to the first question. Second is an interesting project, is yeah, I think each and every product has its own interesting, I would say, journeys, and I would say I would not single out any one particular product. But yes, I think my stint at Beam has been really interesting in terms of building multiple products over here. We started off as a credit product, and this is a product for Uber drivers. This is in the US market. So our primary customer segment is people who kind of live paycheck to paycheck, who their expenses are similar to their income, and therefore they often need last mile cash by the time their salary comes in or their paycheck comes in, and that is where they kind of struggle to last mile cash, and that's why they come to our app. So we kind of build a product. We have built a product such that it doesn't ask them for their credit score, or doesn't ask for any documents or financial documents or stuff like that. It's a very transaction oriented or a data science kind of a product, I can say, that kind of takes your bank transactions and tries to data mine on those transactions, and kind of understand your cash flows, and be able to give you certain amount of limit. It is kind of similar to, not exactly, but similar to the simple product that you might have used in India, kind of similar to that. And then kind of the user, once the user starts, is allotted a particular or initial limit, then the user starts using that, and then repayment history kind of builds up, and kind of builds a trail of your transaction behavior, which helps us further enrich your transaction history and give you more and more higher limit. So this is something that product I have worked on scaling up, and day by day improving the funnel. The most important thing is ensuring that you are acquiring users and you are converting them, so that funnel is highly improvised, and you need to be obsessed about the customer journey over there and conversions. Yeah, apart from that, I would like to mention another product which is quite interesting, which is something that is one of my pet projects in Beam. It is a personal finance product, which is like Instagram like feeds which appear in the app for the user. So we have built, basically the goal was to make our users more financially savvy, or rather build better financial habits. More often than not, then if you are actually struggling for last mile cash, you need to kind of also manage your money better. So how do we help users to manage money better and save even here and there small amount of cash also kind of builds up to large cash later. So we kind of came up with a financial social angle where finance is sometimes perceived as boring, right? You don't go to your mobile banking app every day like you go to your Instagram app, right? So there's nothing interesting unless you have to transact or send money to someone. So we kind of thought of that structure, that what will it make interesting to kind of bring users to our app, and to kind of convert their banking transactions into really interactive social feeds, in the form of very interesting feeds. So like for example, if your paycheck has come, then we kind of show a card like an Instagram, just like your post is like a I would say consider a post or an Instagram post as a card, for example, which has certain interactive elements. You can share, you can comment, you can like, you can send to someone, etc., right? So similarly, we kind of have financial cards like that, where say a paycheck is received, then we show that amount. Similarly, say supposing your Netflix bill is coming up, then we show that and say that your Netflix bill is due in say 2 days. Then say supposing you have to file your taxes, so the deadline is coming up, so we kind of show that as a card. And then it is not just about just showing the card, we kind of emphasize on the insight, and then we say learn more, or take action on that. And then if the user clicks on that, and the user sees the details of the particular insight, and then sees the impact. So we kind of notify the user what is the impact that is going to happen, whether it's a positive impact, whether you're going to maybe save money, or if you do this, then what kind of maybe you will be able to save money, or maybe you will have some repercussions. Say if you're not paying certain bills of time, that might impact your credit score. So making the person aware of what the impact will be, if you do this or you don't do this action. And then the recommendations, not just telling them, informing them, but also kind of guiding them to take the best action. So kind of we suggest 3-4 actions that the user could potentially do. For example, say supposing there is very low balance in my account, we kind of show that, because we are trying to help the user save money, or avoid banking fees on account of say bounce charges, for example. So we try to alert the user on time, maybe 2 days ahead, that we might project that the user might have low balance and might overdraft his account. So we kind of recommend then probably you can add your another bank account, and the cash flows could be kind of managed. Or then similarly, maybe you can add more money into the account, or maybe you can kind of say supposing maybe reduce expenses. These are your upcoming expenses potentially in the next coming few days. So we kind of give real practical advice to what you should be doing, because personal finance is not about just giving advice. It is about handholding the person to be able to do to do the right action, or at least giving a guidance to the multiple actions that the user could do. So this is something at the end of the day, these are like kind of personal finance insights or feeds in the form of interactive feeds. And then you can comment, you can bookmark the feed, you can even save it for later. You can even share it with your, say, over the WhatsApp to your, say, supposing to your family member, your spouse, or your children, for example. To say supposing the spouse is also on the app, for example, then you can even tag that person, user, and kind of, so that both of them kind of, since it's a financial item, then probably both of them need to be concerned, and you might kind of FYI the other person. So this is something we try to kind of, and we saw relevant engagement on the app with these feeds. And a lot of our users wrote reviews that this has really helped them kind of stay on top of finances, and they like coming back to the app to check this out. So this is something this is something interesting, kind of did it for the first time, beyond traditional product or fintech products that we build. And I think personal finance is something that it takes time to build, even whichever market it be, whichever geography it be, in the US or India. I think there have been multiple products that have come up, and that have also shut down. So I think cracking that real problem for everybody, I think, and everybody needs personal finance. Not everybody can go afford a financial advisor, right? So how do we make it more affordable? That was kind of the problem statement that we tried to solve. Of course, it doesn't come with one iteration. It went through multiple iterations. And let me be very clear: product management is not very fancy. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of iterations to come up, and a lot of users keep probing the customers, or probably doing some beta testing, understanding what probably will work, and a lot of tweaking that happens. And then you kind of reach to a stage where you might hit PMF for your product. Yeah.
Yeah, Sangeeta, to be very honest, I was in awe when you were speaking. I was mind blown, of your creativity and the way you did this. I was very inspired. I think, I also want to now enter into product management listening to you. This is just amazing, I think. And the way you explained it, I think it captivated the interest. Because this would have also driven customer engagement. It would have also
Yeah.
made people come more. But at the same time, it would have provided so much value also. Apart from just retaining the customer or getting new customers, actually, it would have made people more aware of how they can do manage their finances better. I think it's amazing what you have been able to do. So, Sangeeta, it is very inspiring. But I want to know who inspires you. So, who are the inspirational people in from whom you have learned, and if any of them is public, or any of them are authors, or if somebody can follow them, let us know about that. One is the public people who inspire you. Otherwise, the second part is in your people who have inspired you around, who may not be that famous, but who are those who have provided good mentorship to you.
Yeah, yeah. I think, of course, there are a lot of product leaders or mentors that I also look up to, like Shreya Doshi. I kind of draw a lot of inspiration from the CEOs that I've worked with, who kind of have been very hands-on in their business. That is in knowing the nuts and bolts of the business. So the CEOs of the companies that I've worked with, and many of them have been extremely thorough with the what the customer wants, and always and the P&L, and what is like the market looking like. It's very important to do sales in your lifetime, or in your professional lifetime,
उसको सांस तो लेने दे बे
to be able to do a product management role better, because that's where you kind of learn the most. A lot of times most of us would not like to do sales role, because many of them have different prejudices against or biases with that role. But I would still kind of say definitely that these are some of the roles that you should pick up. So that is one, from my inspiration point of view. And of course, there are a lot of fantastic product leaders out in the market who we kind of follow, read. I think apart from that, there are folks like Deepak Krishnan, Nitin Pulyani. These are some of the product leaders whose kind of course, insights I follow on LinkedIn, and write about also. I think Deepak Singh from IIT Kharagpur, who was ex-product head at Unacademy, kind of gives a lot of insights, and also in his book Tech Simplified, he kind of simplifies product management as aspects very clearly. Yeah, and I think some of the fellow product colleagues also that I've worked with have also kind of inspired. So yeah, I think in short, these are some of the folks that I have learned from.
Sangeeta, there's also a debate like whether you should join startup versus MNC. Where do you learn product management better? And also now then product also, there are different roles. Like some come from a software domain, some come from a business domain, and try to do. So, what is the best path to start out with? And in your experience, what do you feel is a good journey to learn from? Also, I do understand that every journey can be customized for different individuals. But what do you feel? How should somebody target if they want to get in product management? Should they look at the sector that they like whether it is fintech or D2C, or should they rather they should join a startup with this MNC? What are the filters that they should apply?
I would say startups definitely give a lot of exposure to multiple aspects of product management, or to learn product management. Because today you might be working on, say, a user acquisition problem. You might then be working with a senior PM on, say, a user retention problem, right? So whereas that may not, that flexibility you may not get, or that opportunity you may not get in a large company or an MNC, where pretty much your role will be kind of fixed for, say, a couple of years, right? And once you excel in that, then you kind of move into another role probably. Typically that is how it is structured, right? Because there is process and etc. in a large organization. So I would say initially you could look at a startup, and that startup you could of course choose based on what is your interest area. Like maybe it could be health tech, it could be fintech, it could be ed tech, it could be B2B, B2C, doesn't matter. But I would say a real product management is in B2C. So having worked in both B2B and B2C, I can certainly vouch for that, that if you want to do actual product management, or you're starting off your career, I think you should choose a B2C company, and therefore you can be sector agnostic. It's not a problem, any sector you can choose. You will be at least solving for the end user immediately. B2B, what happens is that there's not much on I would say, of course B2B also has its own tenets of product management, and different aspects and levers are different. But having said that, I think B2C SaaS will have a lot of focus on UI UX, a lot of focus on user conversion, user post sale experience. Those are some of the, and then of course, if the company is at scale, you will have a lot of data. So data is the most important tool. Data and analysis. Of course, data will not tell you. Data, again, data is also something that is also very misleading, right? So you have to build hypothesis, you have to test, validate, and rule out a hypothesis. Just follow like the process of elimination, which you anyways do in your real life. So I think that is one area. So yeah, so that is what I would like to say. And try to, in your initial years of your career, in the first 2 to 3 years, build skill sets. Don't go for I want to do this only. No, I don't want to do retention. That's a difficult problem to solve. I don't want to do that. Don't be choosy, I would say. And my advice would be try to touch upon as many different aspects of product management as possible in the first 3 to 4 years of your career. Try to cover the entire life cycle of product, and that's why I would say join a startup, and then you can probably join a larger MNC where product management is then set in stone. Then you can kind of go there, you can follow structure, and you can solve problems at scale. But initially try to build skill sets, and then slowly you can build of course industry expertise, etc., etc. So yeah, so later on in your, like, say, after you have 10 years of workings, then you are a mixture of the functional expertise as well as industry expertise.
Yeah, that's, I think, amazing advice, guys, for those who are listening. So, Sangeeta, I wanted to know, this podcast, the aim is actually to inspire young people to believe they can do anything, but especially women. I want women to have role models like you, and that is why bringing you here should make young girl believe that she can also do it and she can learn from your journey. So what advice would you like to give to such young girls out there? And it could be advice apart from career also, like something like if they should always keep investing or focus on that. What is the general advice for a young girl out there that you would like to give, both career wise and non-career wise?
Sure. So I think now our atmosphere or our workplace environments are quite conducive to debate, to to building inclusive workplaces. So I think you should not shy away from bringing your opinion on the table. You should definitely every voice matters in the room. So never shy away because of the fact that you may not be right. Right. So don't. So be fearless is what I would say. Be bold. Be fearless. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Because in the first 5 to 6 years of your career, you should be allowed to make mistakes, and that is where you will learn. So you should not shy away from bringing your opinion on the table. You should definitely every voice matters in the room. So never shy away because of the fact that you may not be right. Right. So don't. So be fearless is what I. As young girls starting off their career, I think you should be more outspoken. You should be. You should not have prejudices that you are a women in tech or women in product. Those things. Those are biases, I would say, and it is. Do not create your own self bias that I am not good enough, or I may not be good enough. I might be inferior compared to other folks. To refrain from creating such biases, and try to be, of course, try to invest in building skill sets. And if you at any point of time, you should not be afraid of going and seeking out help from your colleagues, from your peers, or from communities, from product management communities. And I must tell you, there are ample number of product management communities that all of you have exposure to now. The product folks is one of the biggest community in India, and of course globally. There are much even more vibrant product communities now. There is Women in Product, which is a sister concern of the product folks. Then there is Finpro Nexus. Then there are different types of other Slack communities, the product tree, the product led growth, Slack channels. So multiple product communities are thriving now, and they have huge membership and huge community and peer to peer learning. So a huge number of women leaders are there even in product and tech space. So I think you should not be inhibited in any form. You should reach out for help. You should reach out for guidance. You should reach out for mentorship. These are some of the platforms that I mentioned. And also keep learning through experiences. You might read some good books, do courses. There are a lot of product management courses. Also keep upskilling yourself so that you stay relevant in the market and keep learning. I think this is a very interesting career opportunity, I would say, and it has it's one of the most rewarding career opportunities as well. So it has its own pros and cons, but I must say that you should kind of aspire to be out there and be a leader in whichever organization you are.
Yeah, that's, I think, very beautifully put out there. Thank you for articulating it, so well. And I think message for young girls, to be bold and to be fearless and to say what you feel and not shy away from that. I think that's a very strong statement. So, Sangeeta, I wanted to know, like, what are the challenges that that you have faced? Because I feel when people see other challenges and see them talking about it, they also learn to avoid those mistakes, or they learn how to overcome and find strength in that. So, what is something that you have faced you would like to share about?
Yeah. In general, I have in fact, I've been, rather I would say, I've been lucky enough, privileged enough to not have faced any kind of bias because of the gender. I think I have had fantastic colleagues, superiors, peers, and juniors. And many a times I have been the only female in the room. So I have never shied away from putting my point of view. So from a challenges standpoint, I do still hear from other colleagues, from other from people from other organizations, etc., where people do kind of also face some biases. But I think a lot of it is can be solved through communication. I would say use communication channels properly by speaking to people. If at your organizations, if there are issues, say with your boss or with your peers or with any kind of stakeholder, when it comes to your work, if the only thing is that if you're doing your work right, I think you should always put forth your foot and not take shit from people. I think you should definitely try to communicate in the best possible manner. That is important. And I think, yes, I mean, there might be sometimes, like I have also faced challenges, not for being a woman also, but yeah, sometimes maybe you may not be getting your worth, right, your market value when it comes to your role. For example, maybe you would have taken some setbacks to reach a certain role, and then you expect that after a certain level of work has been, or you have credibility you have established, you kind of expect a better compensation when it comes to pay parity. So those are some of the challenges even I have faced, but I have kind of course been very transparent and tried to create what I feel that I am being valued or undervalued versus the work that I'm delivering. So this might happen in your careers as well, and so therefore don't think that, oh no, maybe I am not, maybe I, most of the times women tend to think or overthink rather, that probably, okay, I might just compromise on this and may not ask for a better raise, whereas and often a male colleague might be already doing a similar level of work and might be getting a much higher compensation, for example. Not necessarily, but it might happen. But so therefore do not shy away from promoting yourself, from promoting your work in the right sense. It's nobody's asking you to do false promotions, but it's very important to sell yourself in the right way in organizations. I think that is something that we all of us need to learn to create our own brand within the organization as well, and that comes through a lot of course, first of all, most important thing is your own work, and then kind of interpersonal relationships, stakeholder management, and that is another thing that you need to kind of work on. So I think these are some of the challenges all of us will face, and I have also faced in my last 13 years of my career. And the best thing that is to go and talk it out with a respective person to kind of solve and express that this is a concern that you are facing and this is what you think, and put forth your point of view, because many a times even I have kind of shied away from not going forth and telling that, okay, maybe this is not the right time, I might come back later, and and I might have compromised on certain aspects, right? So I think I would say that now people are more articulate in their communication, so be articulate and bring up your concerns or problem areas immediately. Do not wait or shy away till you feel that it reaches a tipping point, and then you will kind of present your case. I think that is something that you guys should avoid. Yeah, that is something that I would say. And also try to look for a mentor in your organization itself. Maybe in the same team or within maybe similar related verticals. Kind of also helps build anchor within the same company. For your own professional growth as well. Of course, not everybody will be able to find, but try to seek guidance and help from people who have done that. It could be a male or a female colleague or a senior, that doesn't matter. But yeah, irrespective of the gender, you should reach out for guidance.
Yeah, so reach out for guidance is a strong message, and do not shy away from communicating, and be open and transparent, and be honest. So Sangeeta, I wanted to know, like, in general, I think I see a lot of stress around nowadays. In corporate, there's a race for promotions. It's become very competitive, and managing so many things has become stressful at the workplace environment. The culture also sometimes is not that supportive. So what advice do you have for people to manage their stress, like, or maintain good work life balance, and to make a good culture out there in the organization? What would you like to say?
Yeah. I think of course, you need to deliver on your KRAs. That is number one. So you should, you should of course have one-on-ones with your managers and keep a check-in, regular check-ins with your immediate reporting manager or the stakeholders that you work with, to keep a constant check on, how you are doing and seek feedback, right? And be open to feedback with people that you work with. I think quarterly, at least once, you should do that. Ideally monthly once with your manager, but depending on the bandwidth and time availability, etc., at least once in a quarter helps, because you at least know which direction you are headed, right? Rather than going and asking for feedback or getting feedback at the end of the annual appraisal or at the time of appraisals. So I think one is that, so that helps you keep in check that how you are doing professionally, so that you know where you are, and that does not lead to unnecessary stress, right? So that you can take corrective actions at the right time. Professionally, that is very important. And maybe you can also seek support if you don't know what you should be doing. Then probably you should ask your manager or your colleague that probably, okay, if this is where I need help, right, and then how should I improve, if we can work on a plan. I'm sure every reporting manager would be willing to do that, to bring out the best in you, right? So one is that, so that will of course reduce any kind of a work related stress or performance related stress that you are having. And of course it is also a function of your personality, of how much stress you take. But this is how you can maybe probably elevate your work related or performance outcome related management of your professional outcome with your with your reporting managers and stakeholder. That is one. Second is, of course, you should also be passionate about something outside your work. Your work should not be your identity. It is one of your identities, right? You should have personal passions outside work as well. You should at least pick up one or two things that you are extremely passionate about. You really love doing it. When you are not working, probably that is something that you love doing it. Like it could be like simple as probably something what Alicia is doing right now, creating podcast for kind of trying to inspire young women out there. It could be as simple as maybe doing something around fitness, maybe focusing on certain aspects of your fitness and doing it every day, because every single stuff needs commitment and consistency and discipline to achieve outcomes. Nothing happens in a day. Maybe some personal passions outside work to be followed. It could be sports, it could be any other kind of a hobby, or any kind of stuff that interests you and is within your passion. It could be a secondary source of income also. It could also be kind of, maybe you like creating videos, you maybe like photography. It could be any other kind of secondary, or maybe you like to volunteer for social work. I think having personal passions outside work is equally important to driving work-life balance. And definitely focus, first thing that you need to focus is always your health, and therefore fitness needs to be very very important in this current setup, be it working with a startup or an MNC, be it work from home or hybrid or from office. I think we deal with day-to-day stress in our life. So health is something that often gets compromised in work while working in startups. Having been in startup space for the last 6 years in my career, I have also compromised health at many instances. That's a strong advice. Please do not compromise, and I think that should be kept first in priority. And then of course you should balance. That is what will lead to balance. So I think following a fitness regimen, or at least following, if not fitness, at least following a certain kind of a discipline in your day-to-day life, having certain sorts of workouts, which kind of, or maybe something that gives you brings keeps you motivated. And then you kind of also do a 8 hours job, or whatever, 8 to 9 hours of work that you do, that has to be also very efficient. So therefore have regular check-ins over there as well. And of course learn different types of skills apart from your work related. It could be something else that you want to do. Probably you want to make a shift to another domain, then probably you need to kind of also work on pick up certain skills. So I think it's a combination of these three to four things that you should try to do, and not stress yourself a lot, I think. And then I think even if it is a very stressful environment, if you should structure your day so that it doesn't lead to unnecessary stress, or you are pushing you are near the deadline and you need to deliver something. I think you should plan well, and have a plan A, plan B, discuss that out with your managers, and and have that in place. I think that is very very important.
Thank you so much. I think that message, so many things you have mentioned, have something outside work, have a passion, plan properly. I think also work out, focus on fitness. I think amazing lesson for, young people who are listening, because you have been there, you have done these things to reach this level. So I just wanted to ask one last question before we end this. One is, what is your core philosophy which drives you, and what is a purpose of your life, and in the future, what do you want to do? If you could just end at that note.
Sure. So my philosophy is very simple. I really want to impact millions of lives, and if possible, billions of lives. Always believe in doing meaningful impact at scale, and the reason is that is also tied to my personality. Like I feel happy if I'm able to make a difference to somebody's life, and that's why I've been very passionate about mentoring. About I've also kind of done that in a non-structured manner and sometimes in structured manner also. So that is something that has been at my core of whatever I do. And even in my work also in the last few years, I've been working with companies who have been creating impact. It could be financial inclusion, it could be social impact, it could be basically even students making their careers out there. So I have been really passionate about all these things, and so that is what drives me. I think, and at a large level also, if I were to say, I think impact, meaningful impact. Very firmly believe in creating impact at every stage of your life, of course in different forms, but that is what is my core fundamental of whatever I want to do. And of course, at the same time, as I progress in my career also, I also would be kind of working on running my own startup one day and creating things that solve hard problems. Love to work on hard problems rather than me too problems, or even me too as in basically building me too products or something which is existing and kind of enhancing that. Of course, that is also a business, but kind of love to work on hard problems in general. So that is what keeps me excited and motivated. I think that's my core philosophy. So yeah, that is what I would like to end it with.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. I think it's been wonderful having you here. It was very inspirational. So many times I was mind blown, especially when you explained that amazing product which you are working on. I think it's been very, nice to have you here. And I think you are such a, inspiring person that is listening to you. I was just really lost actually, just listening to, and it doesn't happen very often, and I'm being very honest there. I think it comes from a lot of your experience having gone through that, and also your personality. You are being, I think, genuine, that people can see through that, and that's really amazing. So thank you so much for doing this. It's been amazing. It means a lot that you chose to give time and come on my platform. I'm very, very grateful.
Bye bye. Tata.